Hi, my name is Megan, and this is a Naughty Mess Knitting Podcast. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our first podcast episode of 2024. That's pretty exciting. It's a new year. It's only the 7th. It's January 7th. I am filming on a Sunday, which I never do. But filming that Everything I Made episode and then editing 3 hours of footage really took it out of me. I think I only posted it on Friday night anyway, even though I did not film on Friday. But by the time I got it ready and uploaded and all of that stuff, it was Friday, and I was like, I can't film right now. And we had a lot of stuff going on here yesterday because it was flat lay day. Do you guys notice anything different behind me? Okay, we can talk about that at the end. I think we're gonna zoom through this episode because I did a lot of filming this week, not a ton of knitting, and I am pretty tired. Also, it's Sunday and it's baby's nap time right now, and Mike is going and is getting a haircut, so I have the monitor. I'm watching her, and I don't have tons of time before she's gonna, be up and about. We did just have a baby play date though, so hopefully she's very exhausted. She crawled over to me at the end of the play date and just laid her head on my shoulder, and I was like, okay, it's time to go. But I have stats for us to talk about for our flat lay and all of the yarn and all the things. So I'll talk about that stuff, but I think the rest of it will go pretty fast. So, for anyone who's newly joining me after finding me from my flat lay or from my Everything I Made in 2023 episode, welcome. My normal episodes do the same thing that most people's do, so I'm going to go through finished objects, whips. Usually I do spinning stuff, but I didn't do any spinning this week, which is fine. And then I will go through acquisitions, which also I have none. Actually, that's not true. Oh man. I didn't buy anything from a store or dyer, but Sylvan was a yarn fairy to me, so as she tends to be. So I do have some new things that I want to talk about. And then I go through things, just something that usually, sometimes it's stuff that you guys bring up or is happening and I want to talk about, and or just other things. This time I have been talking about my tracker spreadsheet. A couple of people have asked me for more information. I'm going to share that and the 2024 starting number. So I have 2 finished objects. I have only 2 whips to talk about. One of them is a new cast on and the rest. Okay, so finished object number 1, I'm actually going to do the socks first because I think these will go really fast. I showed these on my 2023 recap, but I know not everybody watches that. So for regular podcast listeners, if you didn't catch there, I did finish my vervain socks in time, in the nick of time. And I just want to show them. So these are vervain. It's in the 52 Weeks of Socks book by Sachiko Bergen. Who is Sachiko B on Instagram. There is a right and a left. So this is the right sock. And there is just this lace pattern that goes kind of outside foot. It's not all the way on the side of the foot because, it's still in the top panel, but it's really pretty. The detail is, it's a lace traveling kind of, swoopy leaf thing. I think vervain is a plant, right? So that's what it's supposed to be. Because you do this all the way up to the cuff, I do feel like they have a little bloop, as that's my favorite word to describe anything. But it's not straight. Yeah, so they have this little swoopy here, but I like it. They fit really nice. This color still, this was my favorite Farmer's Daughter sock color of the year. Maybe tied with favorite sock. I think overall I really like the effect of these. It looks like a classy sock. I know that's a strange sentence to say, but I think it does. And my Krufka socks still went out. That was my May sock, and they are just, it's my favorite wear. It's my favorite, just all the things. But these are really close second because I really do love this color. I don't feel like, just the things that have lace on them, I tend not to wear quite as much, like true lace pin like this, but we'll see, because I think this fit is really nice. We'll see what I end up, how the use is over time. So this was the last of my Farmer's Daughter Fibers Sock Squad. I still have to post, this is the 7th. I have until the 14th because remember they sent the sock yarn a week late because of the holidays, because of Thanksgiving. There's so many fuzzies in here because we moved all of the fluff. They're just in the air right now. So I am done. I finished in time. I have not posted. I need to post the last one in the Sock Squad Ravelry page, and I will post all 12. I'm going to just put them together in a photo, so that's a lot faster for me, and then post that as well, so I get entered in the grand prize, because I did it in time. I did all of them in 2023. As far as the pattern goes, I don't have tons to share. I liked it. The instructions were pretty clear. It was just a, pretty super basic sock. But the fit is nice. They don't, they're not like awkward or anything. So that's pretty good. That's always good. So that's that. And I made the size 2. There's only 2 sizes. So this is not for everybody's sock. All of the ones in publication tend to be like a little bit more limited that way. There are even a couple in this 52 Weeks of Socks original edition that I think I'd have to adjust in order to like fit my foot because of like just the dimensions that they've picked. I think socks, usually you can just do them in multiples of 4. Sometimes you have to do a little bit of math on that heel flap and gusset or whatever the heel is if you change the number of stitches, but otherwise, as long as you can like finish in pattern, it doesn't usually affect it that much. A little easier to change than like all the dimensions that go into sweaters if you're really messing with formulas there. Okay. Let's talk about the next finished object, which is my Duotone. It's done. The test is over. My notes are in, my pictures in, everything is done. I saw yesterday on Instagram that, and I very possibly, she posted this actually somewhere in our Slack channel, but I don't remember seeing it. The date for release is January 11th. So this coming week, Friday. What day is that? Thursday? I don't know. Whatever. The 11th. This pattern will be released. So if you have been loving the making process, I totally encourage you to buy this, because I think it's a cool pattern. There are a lot of tests I've done. I'd be like, yeah, if you like the look, buy it. But I do think that this one is like extra worthwhile because there's some techniques in here that I think are very sort of unique and interesting. And if you're like a curious maker and you like the look of this, I know there's a couple other, like the Piping Hot. I don't know who designed that. There's like at least one other that I've seen with this like sort of the I-cord or faux I-cord detail. And I'm sure those patterns are also good. And I have not looked into them at all, so I cannot say if they're very different. But this is a true I-cord in here, which is cool. So let's talk through some details after I stand up. So I can't go. I feel like I'm closer or something. Anyway, if I set up, I'll pop up a picture in a second too when I sit down of what it looks like. But here is it on. What I want to show you is the hem. So you can see the hem is that, whoop, let's go closer. It looks really interesting when it's fully spread out like this. So it is still that faux ribbing. You can kind of see, like when I blocked it out, I did pull this a little bit more than anywhere else. You can kind of see like the completed knit stitch, and then there's like 3 that are the faux ribbing pieces. On the sleeve, it looks really different because they're much... I didn't stretch the sleeve at all when I blocked. Well, maybe just a tiny bit, but I didn't pin it. I pinned the bottom. I didn't pin the sleeves. So they look much different. And then even the collar is sitting somewhere like in between. So this is the same exact methodology, the same yarn, the same needle size, even the same needles. Like I didn't even change anything but the cord length on my hem and cuffs, and like it looks different, right? But they like all look the same. I don't know how to explain, but whatever. So this is constructed. Okay, so I'll put a picture of here of me modeling it, but this is constructed in a really fun method. So if you've been on the journey with me, you've heard this, but I'll just go through really fast. You can start anywhere sort of mid torso or all the way at the bottom and knit up, but you don't start with the hem. You do a provisional cast on, and then you add the hem at the end. What this does is really makes bottom up less scary because you're not guessing your full length. And you know, drop shoulders are hard because like they really can hit you so differently depending on how big your sleeve holes are. So this is supposed to have a relaxed fit, so it's really nice that you can do, she encourages you to do at least 4 inches of body before you split, but that's really your choice. I think it's more so that you could try it on and make sure that this top portion fits you well. But you do up, and then, you know, you knit flat your front and your back, and then you do, so another very fun detail is that this is a 3 needle bind off. That is an I-cord. That was a really cool method. I really enjoyed, for a crew neck, this is a really flattering neckline. It has definitely enough shaping and enough neck shaping to sit really nicely. Like I wore this at work to work the other day, and it just stayed like in a really nice place the whole day. And then this faux ribbing, and the faux ribbing also has an I-cord finish, which I wasn't sure if I loved at first, but once it washed, I do think like it looks nice. Like it doesn't look weird. And when you pull your sleeves up at all, which I like live my life with my sleeves up a little bit, I think it just looks really nice, and it looks pretty polished. What else? This is real I-cord through the middle. So like every other row, you're just slipping those stitches. And then when you do the provisional, when you like, so I did almost, you know, 75% of the body or something like from split before I even did sleeves and stuff. I fully finished the sleeves and they went back to the body, and then I just knit, you know, a couple of inches and added the ribbing after. It makes it like just so much less daunting. I think that's such a great thing, and I assume that that technique will work. I have not tried it for other things. Would work for a lot of bottom up things, as long as you're not doing some sort of texture that will get flipped, or, you know, because you're going to be knitting the other direction. That's what I have to say about that. I don't have anything else to say. I really enjoy the fit. It is, from the picture you can see too, it's pretty relaxed. It's got like lots. We've discussed this before. I'm a 47-inch bust. So for anyone who's new, I tend to wear an extra large for knit things up top, but like the way my bust is and other things, like it's usually like a 5 or an extra large. That's E, you know, whatever people do for sizing. But oftentimes even those, the sleeves are a little bit snug. I've got big arms. And so this one has like a nice relaxed fit. It's also why I chose to do the relaxed fit of the sleeves. There were 2 options, like a regular taper. The people did both, but also that just leaves you kind of this bigger, like, you know, it's sort of like a sweatshirt fit, that like it's like bigger here all the way until the decreases happen from like here down. They're just slow. They're slow. And then you just do your cuffs are more that cinch in. I think the look is really great. The yarn is, so this is a size 5. It's 54 inches. It's supposed to be, you know, 6 to 11 3/4 or something. I usually say, I don't even have my notes up for this right now, but this is, so it's a 7 inches of ease on me. And it's also made with her yarn partner, who is Rachel from ZZ Textiles. This is Rachel Costello Knitwear. And then it's Surrey, Baby Surrey is this green color you see all over. Most of Rachel Costello's samples are with mohair. I think all of them maybe are with mohair. It definitely is a different look. Like the fabric is a little less densely, the highlighter color is what she calls the fluff. And then the blue is ink from both of these, from Rachel's ZZ Textiles sweater library. So you can get these exact colors if you would like to match me. But she has so many amazing colors, and it was really hard to pick a combo. I am very pleased with this. It's not exactly like anything else, obviously. Like, this combo is not like anything else in my wardrobe right now, and I like it. I am pleased. It's definitely something I think I would make again, and so far comfy and cozy to wear. It is warm. I mean, it's a fingering and a fluff held together sweater, and there's not any lace in it, which I feel like often happens in those that combo, and so it's toasty. And I just would like to say there's been a lot of, if any of you guys are followers of Size Inclusive Collective, Autumn's been doing a lot of work on behalf of, this was a test knit for me. Obviously this pattern comes out next week, but she's been doing a lot of work advocating for testers of all sizes, but especially big testers. Like, this is a lot of stitches. It's something we were talking about in our knit group too. Like, most of the girls in the knit group are smaller sizes, which is, you know, whatever, right? Like, that, not any opinion about it, but just like when you're making a sweater and you're making in a larger size, like, it's significantly more stitches. So one of the girls was making a sweater for her dad, which is actually close to a size that I would make. And I was like, yeah, it's a lot, right? Like, getting through a body for an extra large it's a lot of stitches. Like, you get used to it, and I'm totally used to it, but like, I love doing samples in a size 2 or 3 because it's like, wow, that was an itty bitty garment. Like, baby sweaters are so fun because they're so small. But no, it's like, so Autumn's been doing a lot of work and talking a lot on her Instagram this past week about test timelines, like really making sure everybody gets the time to test. And I would just like to make the plug right now, if you ever see another Rachel Costello knitwear design going to testing, feel comfortable that you will get a lot of support and get a lot of time. And the other thing that she mentioned, like Autumn mentioned, was just like other questions she had asked. You guys should check out her stories if you want to, about like just like how communicative designers are, and like, are they giving you extra time if you requested, you know, just things like that. And I would like to say all the good things, and I'll give you guys more information about my test experiences as we go on. I haven't done that many since I started, or nothing that has had anything major come up. And I've tested for, like, this was my first time testing for Rachel. But I tend to be a little bit picky. Like, I won't pick a test if it's got a 4-week timeline for the most part, because I don't feel like that's enough time. It's not enough time for any size bigger than an XL for sure. I can certainly knit a sweater in 4 weeks, but that's kind of the only thing I can knit then. And I don't really, that's not my jam. Also, if I need to get yarn, that feels really stressful. Also, I am very much in the camp of one sleeve and a yoke does not tell you if a sweater is flattering. You can also not post your finished objects when everyone else is hyping the pattern as a tester. I feel like that's part of, you get more views that way. Also, like, it's nice to celebrate with everybody who's posting their tests that are done. And if you just can't because you didn't get enough time, that sort of is an icky feeling. But so Rachel, she did it on Slack. That's also, Slack or Discord are definitely my preferred methods for communication. Every single time there was a question, she answered within a day. She also gave everybody extra time because of the holidays. She has given people extra time if they need it. She pushed her timeline to make sure she was taking in people's feedback forms. Anytime a problem happened in the pattern, not only did she correct it right away, she explained it, and she put in the chat to everybody, you know, what the changes were. So if you were past a point or before a point, you would know if you needed to consult the new pattern. It's a lot, but if you're a tester, you know that those things are so important. So I just wanted to get on my little soapbox and tell you about that, because I feel like I have not been telling you how much I love testing for some of the people. Another one that I love testing for is Molly from White Owl Crochet Co. I think she is, she's really communicative. She does hers on Instagram still, and so that's something I don't like. I wish all designers would just move to Discord or Slack. Like, Discord's free. Just, you know, it's just so much easier for you to find problems. You know, so if you ever have questions, or, you know, you see a test and you're not sure if you should sign up for somebody's, and you see that I have tested, I will tell you the details. Okay, so let's move on to whips. Okay, I have only 2 to talk about, and because I thought I would, so I already knew this, and you guys knew I was working over my work break, and yeah, I had a week at work. My brain was not here, and like, just getting ready for the year in review episode, it was a lot. It was a lot of things to do. I had to get ready for the flat lay, so I just have not actually knit very much, and I didn't do any spinning. Like, I don't even have any fiber out at all. which is fine, right? There's no rush. I would rather take care of myself, go to bed a little early all the nights this week, and whatever. Which also though means, because I've been so crazy busy at work, I have not gotten the time to watch many other people's year in review episodes, and I feel very behind on the YouTube world, but I'm going to catch up. There's plenty of weeks to get caught up on people's and continue to find inspiration throughout the year. So I am progressing on the Leith. This was one that felt mindless to me because I'm just doing sleeves, and so that's a nice time to be. You'll see this is on needles still, and we'll talk about that in a second, but this is my Leith cardigan by Rebecca Clow. I am making a size 5, and it's 49 inches, I think. And this is made out of Sorella Classic Worsted in the colors Mrs. Patmore's Kitchen, Magic, and Warm Glow. They are all 100% superwash merino and 218 yards for 100 grams. It's nice and dense. It's super squishy. It's heavy. It's going to be really warm. So this is on my right side. I finished a sleeve with the opposite color. I am out of yarn. Like, this is what I have to bind off. It's like 3 yards. I decided to keep it on needles so that I could see how much, because I didn't weigh it before I started, and then I was like, well, to see how much of magic I would have left to do that cuff, because I may have to rip back a couple rows if there's not enough magic, which I think looked a little bit smaller, but that's hard to tell because also my wind could have been a little bit different. So I really like the cuff. It looks really good so far, and I want it to be a little bit longer, so I would love if I could keep all of this length. I am going to do a tubular bind off, so I'm just going to leave it there. Also another reason, like, I'm definitely not going to rip that out. I started decreases over here. I'm going pretty good. That's the nice thing about this yarn, is that it does sort of stripe on its own, just like so. They're not going to look exactly the same, but they're going to look dang close. And then I have a button band. So I have 2 skeins and this teeny tiny bit left. This is like 22 grams or something, so, or a little bit less. So I will definitely have to break into another one for the sleeve, and I will have to, I don't know how much a button band. I've never done a cardigan before. I'm still have not done a button band on my own, on a cardigan. So like an adult size cardigan. So here we are. This is where we are. I need to progress. I have more cardigans on the list than like seems reasonable of things I'm going to make this year. My mom, I think this is where I was last time also. The last time I brought this up, which I didn't even show you last week because there was like no progress on it. So I did all of this and this little bit this week, which is pretty good. But a field day for my mom, which is, she's a bigger size than me. So that's going to be it's going to be a sweater, but I hear that the field day you do the button band at the same time, which is another reason why it's the sweater choice for that. My mom said a plain cardigan. I said, great, I know the perfect one. And okay, so that's the Leith. It is progressing. I would like to finish obviously both sleeves this week. I'd like to pick up the button band. I want to cruise through and get that one off the books, and done for the year. So I have a new cast on. I cast on my New Year's Day cast on with Charlotte from my knitting group, who you know through the Charlotte method, which is how I prefer to knit socks. Which if you don't know and don't watch, is just like concurrently knitting socks. So I knit 2 separate needles socks at the same time. But we are the only 2, I think, in the knitting group that wanted to participate in having the same color garment. So the whole crew went to the Explore Knits and Fibers La Mercerie pop-up last February. I think it was February. I don't remember. I wasn't there. I didn't go. I wasn't in the knitting group yet, so I didn't really even know about it. I had heard about it, but I didn't go because it was a very rainy day, and also I had a newborn at home. So, but they went, and there's a Seattle collection. So Allie, I think there were 7 or 8 colors. I'm not entirely sure. But this is one of them. So this is Pike Place, which is supposed to be the like color of the public market sign over Pike Place, I think is like what the intention is. Sylvan thinks that my balls of yarn look a little bit more orange than she thinks hers are. We're going to compare it knit night this week. I remember hers being kind of this orangey red, which is kind of what the sign looks like. I think you, in your mind, you think it's very red, but if you go look at it, it's not that much. Anyway, this is Explore Knits and Fibers yarn in Rocky's DK, which is, I think, 100% superwash merino. I don't have the thing on me, but it's 274 yards for 100 grams. And it is going to be, no, you can't see anything from that, but it's on very small needles right now. So it does actually look a lot larger if I uncondense it, but it is going to be a ballerina wrap top, which is a pattern by Alexi Tavel, who is 2 of Wands. It is a free pattern on her blog. So this is not a size inclusive pattern, and I do not normally recommend non-size inclusive patterns, but I do think there's an exception if things are free. If you can mod it, then you haven't paid for it. And if you're doing a little bit of work, like, you know, that's your choice. There are wrap tops that are size inclusive. I just like the look of this one. I like how the ties are, which I think that's the thing that's like most different. There's a lot of also wrap tops that tend to like wrap and then be ribbing, so you're stuck with the wrap. I think my issue with that kind of wrap top, and I have like purchased those from stores before, is that, as we've talked about before, my chest sits really low. So like where the crossover is really awkward on me. So I wanted the choice of tying it myself. I also think my body changes throughout the month and just seasons and all the things that I wanted the choice and the ability to be able to tie. So that's why I wanted to do this one. And I purchased this yarn so long ago. So like I'm stuck with, I could just do a different top for sure, but this is what I want. This is my mood board here. So, that is what I'm making. I am on the yoke increases. It is a raglan, like you can see here are my 2 increase sets. And it is a raglan style cap sleeve wrap top. The picture will have already been up, but I am not going to, do cap sleeves. If I have enough yarn, which I should, I will add at least a little length. I would love for them to be a little bit more like 3/4. The bind off for the cap sleeves is I-cord, and I think I will give myself some ribbing or something so they can kind of like cinch in a little. I don't know, maybe I'll do I-cord. It really depends on how much yarn I have. And yeah, so like everyone else in the knitting group has, I think everyone or almost everybody decided to buy this yarn and all have matching tops. So Charlotte and I did not yet make the tops. And so we talked about it like all fall. We were like, oh yeah, we should cast on Pike Place. Oh yeah, we should cast on Pike Place. And then finally I texted her and I was like, this is our New Year's Day cast on. Well, guess what, everybody? It is January 7th and Charlotte has already done her New Year's Day cast on. She also knits really fast, but she chose to do a Tulsa tee, and it was, I think the fingering weight held with also Pike Place in Surrey. I think it's Surrey. And I don't even think Allie does mohair. So yeah, so Surrey. And it is really cute. She brought it over when she came and helped with the flat lay yesterday. And I love it. I love all the Tulstas. She's also in the camp of now she wants to do another Tulsta. So I feel like, yes, everybody make a bunch of them. So I'll let you know how this goes, but why did I cast on something that's essentially another cardigan when I have 2 unfinished cardigans on my needles and more cardigans coming? I don't know. This is even the worst kind of cardigan because I actually have to cast on more stitches for the wrap to be complete. But it is form fitting, so like it's got negative V's, so there's that. You know, the heart wants what the heart wants. And that's the one I wanted to do right now. I did not bring down, I also have on my needles a calm down cardigan, which you guys, I was doing the flat lay last night and I haven't even looked at it in like 2 or 3 weeks. And when I picked up for the back, I think I was not feeling great. And I just went along and was knitting all hunky-dory and whatever. And I've even showed this to you. I'm pretty sure when I looked at it last night, and it was very late when I was taking my flat lay picture of my whips because it was the last thing I did after I cleaned all of the things and got all the yarn back in here. I am pretty sure I picked up my back on the wrong side. How did I do that? I have absolutely no idea. Am I going to have to rip it all out? Yes. Yes, I am. So, that got in super timeout. Like, I wanted to finish the back the other day, and I'm glad I didn't pick it up then because that would have bummed me so much. Like, right now, I'm like, nah, whatever. I also have, my, Cinnabar shawl is still on my needles. It actually, I added 2 rows the other day, but I just didn't want to go grab it. And I pulled out, as my other 2 whips, my Pillars of Simplicity, and because these are my languishing whips, and my Camaro. And the Camaro, I am committed to putting on that sleeve sometime this month and just finishing that one in January, so it's off the needles. I think I said this like the other week, is I'm trying not to just get cast on, cast on, cast on, and then have a bunch of things where I only work on them in little chunks and then a bunch of things finish at the end. So I'm gonna regulate myself a little. What I'm trying to do is cast on basically every 10 days. I mean, I'll have to consistently do that, but no more than 1 in 10 days unless it's like a sock. So, and I don't have any deadlines for socks this year. So just, if I need like a travel project or something, or like, a hat, which I'm going to make some more Manhattan hats. So like that might be a thing that happens, but I am going to start my husband's stick season as the next one because I would like to get that to him for his birthday. I did not make the commitment to him, but I feel like that would be a nice time to give it to him. And it's still cold enough for him to wear it this year. Well, those are future plans. Again, no spending. Acquisitions. So let's talk about acquisitions really fast because I shouldn't have acquired anything. You're right. But Sylvan went through a big de-stash of yarn the other day, and she posted a couple of things that I said, well, actually, she's super nice and gives me dibs first. Whoever in the group has expressed interest in things. And I just really wanted a couple of these things. And I'll tell you, they all sort of have projects. And it's not that much stuff, but I'm going to stand up and grab one of them. Whew, okay. I think this is all I got. So Sylvan had a sweater quantity of these two that go together. So these are both the shade Nightfall from Explore Knits and Fibers, and she had a sweater quantity. And if anybody follows Sylvan on social media, she is a pink gal. She does also, we're the same color palette, most likely. I don't think Sylvan's actually done the test yet, but like we have very similar coloring. It's likely she's also a deep winter, at least some sort of winter. And this is a great color, but it's not what she gravitates to. And I think you have to also like follow your joy here, right? So, but I saw this and I said, Sylvan, if you are going to release it into the wild, I really want it because you guys, this is the most absolute perfect shade. And this and Surrey for me to make my, Whitmore sweater. So I can match Sarah and our Whitmore sweaters. And it's something that I was like, yeah, I'll do that eventually. Well, this fell into my lap, and no, I didn't need yarn right now. But I did really want it. So I acquired that from Sylvan. And this, Woolberry also, yeah. And this Woolberry, this is a sweatshirt. It's got like these little bits of, it's gray and a little bit of pink in it. It's very pretty, and it's berry mohair, which is 72% mohair, 28% silk, 459 yards for 50 grams. And then this, is Haven, and it's also Woolberry, but it is Surrey. And so theirs Surrey is 74% Surrey alpaca, 26% silk, 328 yards for 50 grams. So this is the old Surrey, old berry Surrey. I acquired only half of what Sylvan had for this because I decided what I think I want to do a combo is, you guys know I just made a Doppio. And I'm not committed to this combo. but I would like another doppio, I think. And I actually think I might want one size smaller. I like how my pink one fits me for sure, but it's always like, you know, you just change things around, or I might just like do a little bit of decreasing in the body. I do really like the relaxed fit of that one, but you know, more, I don't need them to be, if I make more of the same pattern, I usually don't need them to be exactly the same unless I love that fit so very much. I don't want anything different about it. And that one I love the shaping and stuff, but I even think one size smaller would sit on my shoulders just a tiny bit different, and that might be nice. And I was thinking this woolberry combo, we'll just have this amazing woolberry sweater that's all de-stash yarn. And I think that could be pretty nice, especially because this gray is the mohair and it has less, it'll be a little less coverage, but it would definitely make it, again, a really toned down sort of like pink to red, not so much light pink. I'm not committed to it, but it's an idea. But this is a different combo than I did 2 fingerings and a sari last time. And so to do a DK, mohair and a sari, I think I could get the same gauge. Now, what I will say about this is I have just enough of this. I have 4 skeins. So at that bigger gauge, I could maybe do the doppio. Like I might have to do 3/4 sleeves. It might have to be a little bit cropped. Again, doing a size smaller. This all weighed into this decision. If I don't do that and I just use this by itself, I really can only make a t-shirt, a vest. I may have enough to do like the Haley vest, which is a slip over, which is what I was maybe thinking, but I've got a different plan for that because I do think I would probably wear it in a more neutral shade more, since I would wear it over a shirt. Okay, all that to say, future plans with my acquisitions. They were acquisitions with a little bit of intention, and also it's pretty. So you'll see that I did a change of yarn. I certainly did. I did mention this several weeks ago, that a thing that our knit group does, and not everybody does it, but me, Charlotte, and Katie have all done them this year. And Katie and Charlotte have been doing them for, I think, several years, but they take a flat lay. So they take yarn wherever their yarn is stored in their house, they lay it on the ground, and both of them can do it in one single photo. I can't. And take a picture, and then it's little, the yarn is little on the picture, right? But then they, throughout the year, color in what they use. I also have a tracking spreadsheet, which we'll talk about in a second. But this is a very fun visual activity. I wanted to do a little revamp of where things were, so that because I podcast right in front of this, and also I stare at it a lot, I could like revitalize my love and interest in what I already have in my stash, so I don't buy more yarn. Just bought more yarn. But, you know, that's different. That's from a friend. And not that I won't buy from, you know, things, but I do have a goal to be 10,000 yards stash negative. So we're going to talk about where I'm starting. When we did this, I have already had everything in my stash in a spreadsheet, but I had not weighed it all. You really need to weigh it, because that's the only way to tell you what you actually have. First of all, that's very helpful because I've got a lot of things that have 10% more, which that 10% more is sometimes all you need in the sweater quantity to get you to not buy another skein, you know, or like will cover me if I'm like, ooh, I think I'd be short on that project that I'm looking at for that yarn. Like, no, actually I'm going to be fine. And patterns tend to have a little bit of buffer if the designer does that, which hopefully most of them do. But yes, all this to say, we did a flat lay. I am now going to take over the whole screen and show you the picture because it's a very big picture. This flat lay, if you'll see, is a stitched together photo. So there are 5 pictures of stash. So it is fingering weight, and I'll maybe put like little arrows here right now for which section. There's a fingering weight. There is a sport and DK picture. There's a worsted picture. There is a bulky and super bulky, and then there's a lace weight. That's the order we did the day. And then there's a whips photo, and that's everything. So when you finish something, and everybody has their own rules of engagement, this is just my thing. There's no set rules. There's no laws around this, right? What I'm going to do is like, so let's say I do use that rustic woolberry that I just showed you, that red skeins of DK, which by the way, all these acquisitions did make it into the flat lay. And So if I used, you know, that Doppio, I would go in and I would color in all of the skeins that I used. So even if I broke into a partial, if I have some left over, I would still add them. I would still color the whole thing. I'm not going to color part of that. Because this is my first flat lay, I also decided, and because my stash is so big and we already had taken 5 photos, I did not do a scraps. And I do have some scraps counted into like my overall project tracker, but what I'm going to start and count for stash this year, and it's not a huge number, what is going into inventory. There are some large, like mostly full skeins that are counted in, but anything that are my small scraps are not counted in inventory. My acrylic base yarn is not counted in inventory. My hand dye or hand spun is not counted in inventory. Everything, and like some things, like I've got, you know, some like the Hue and Me, the like thick and quick, like that's not counted. Yes, I might use that in projects this year, but no, that won't count against my total yardage. Will that affect me picking that yarn? Maybe. So maybe it'll stay here longer and that'll motivate me to just get it out of my stash. I have enough of that extra stuff that I just could not also inventory all of that. And I chose like this summer that stuff wasn't going to get inventoried. So I stuck with it. So they were not photographed. You know, they're not in that picture. It's not so very much in the scheme of the wall. Anyway. And they are, you know, like I just use them for very specific things. So there's actually, and there's like one sweater quantity that didn't make it into the stash that is in the inventory and could potentially be used, and I just don't get to color it in then. It's just something that I squirreled in a special drawer and I totally forgot about, and like, I'm not going to retake that photo, so it's fine. These are all my rules and this is how I want to do it. And now I've told you. And so we're all on the same page. Okay, so let's talk about spreadsheet really fast. There is a Instagram knitter. Her name is Ashley and her handle is Ben Knitter. She has a spreadsheet. It is on Google Drive. You can request access to it. You don't just have access to it, and she can send you a copy of it, right? It is my baseline. It's where I started. I have made a lot of changes to it since then, but it is where I started. Giving her credit. It's a very cool spreadsheet. What I chose to do though, instead of using Google Docs, and partly because I had like a bunch of my stash, mostly the acrylic stuff, like my early stash in Ravelry. I don't like Ravelry for stash. I have a lot of opinions about why, but mostly I don't find it very searchable for, yes, if you're looking at a pattern, it can give you ideas, but I don't think it always gives you ideas. Like it doesn't take into account your size for the number of yards. Then you have to go into the thing, and you know, and for the mix and matches, it's not as good as that for that. And so, you know, I like data and I wanted to do my own thing anyway. So I have my stash in a tool called Monday.com. Monday.com is a page tool, pretty sure. I mean, you can have a free one, but you can only have there's a limit of items in board, and it's not as many items as I have behind me. That's for sure. I have an account through work. So I have my private workspace in my work account, which is where this lives. I can export it to a Google Doc if I wanted to, but I do have photos in here. So that's what I wanted more than Google Docs, is I wanted to have pictures in, so that I also have an app on my phone. I can be on the go if I'm like, oh, wait, did I need some of this thing? Or, you know, do I have enough of this color? Whatever things that I might need it on the go. Who knows? Sometimes at midnight, I'll look to see, and it tells, you know, then I can look for the yarn and I can see the picture to make sure I'm looking at the right color. Okay. All of that to say, it's a spreadsheet. So in my workspace though, I have 4 spreadsheets I use normally. So I have a yarn library, which is just tracking my stash. In that, I track the name of the yarn, because oftentimes I remember a color, but color name is what I track. And if it just has a color number, I'll put the number and then like an approximation of the color. Brand, the base, if it came from a club, what that club was, so I can find them all together. A photo, the weight, and it's just the standard weight options: lace, fingering, DK, worsted, you know, etc. color family, and that's just the things I have designated. So I have like more than one option. I don't just have blue and green. I have blue, teal, and green because I have a lot of teal in my stash. I have attributes like, is it a 2-ply, is it a 4-ply, which really matters more for the sock things if I cared, which I don't. Fiber content, and then the important pieces, and a lot of that came from, most of that, but not all of it, came from Ashley's spreadsheet. And then I also have columns for fiber content, yardage, grams, and yardage per skein, grams per skein. So if it's a 400 yards for 100 grams, that's what goes in there. But then if you weigh it, you put in how much you actually have. So if you have one skein of fingering weight at those measurements, but it's 110 grams, you put a 1.1 skeins. So then you have an actual accurate yardage available. So there are formulas in here that gives me total yards available and total grams available. I also put in, and I think these are not in Ashley's, and I just wanted to have this tracking for myself. Date acquired, the acquisition type, which is a bunch of things like, is it a D-stash? Did I buy from the dyer? Did I buy at a festival? So I can also see like all my flock purchases are in one place, right? And from 2023, because I have the date in there, you know, all of this just to inform my buying habits. And then how much, and also the purchase place, like not just the type, but the purchase place. How much I paid for it. I do generally include shipping in that because that's a cost we all have to be aware of. And then I have this whole, I have a couple of fields that map to my pattern library, which is another sheet I have. So if I know that something's tagged for a certain pattern, again, I'm not like stuck to that, except for something like my mom's Clan Fraser yarn from the Outlander collection from Long Dog is tagged to a field day cardigan because that is what I'm making her. I'm not going to change my mind on it, and that's what's getting cast on. Then I have some columns that mark if I've used the yarn, what date I used it, and how much is remaining and how much was used and how many yards remain. So I actually do all of my calculations off of that field, which auto calculates if nothing is there, just is the same as the first available grams and yards. So I can accurately know how many yards are available at any given time. So when I finish project, I update that. And then I also mark if something's traded or gifted or whatever, like the giveaway yarn I did not earlier this year, I did last year. I, marked both of those skeins that I gave away as gifted and on what date, and that they're now 0 available, right? When things are used in Monday, you can throw them to a used group so they don't show up in my regular searching. And that's what I track. It's a lot of stuff. Is it a little bit crazy? For sure. But do I get some fun stats from it? Also, yes. And do I like stats? Also, yes. So if you take the time, I think I'm of the personal opinion, if you're going to take the time to catalog your stash anyway, you might as well have all of the good relevant stats. It's a pain in the butt to do no matter what. And I found Ravelry very challenging because it's so slow. So when I was doing it before, it was like, okay, you can't quickly update anything. It's super slow. And so this was a lot faster to type everything in. Also, I can change, categories or what I'm doing, as much as I want to, and be really flexible that way. Okay, what are the other things I track? I track my project, it's not a library, project tracker. I have one that's just called Project Tracker. I have one from 2023, which I think I may kill and restart a new one and just duplicate the structure so that I have a fresh start. I had 5 lingering whips from the year and pictured in my flat lay that you saw before. And all 5 of those are going to move into the new board as just my category. So I have categories that are working on. And then I also have categories, this is a little bit crazy, that's like posted or, finished, but then posted on Instagram and also not going to post on Instagram. So there are some things I make for myself that I just don't, there's some of my socks I just have not posted on Instagram. And that's my choice. And because I'm not going to post them there, I don't want them to live forever in the finish. I'm a completionist. I like things to move all the way to one of a completely done category. But when things are finished, they also often wait until like this. It's in the finished category right now, but it is not in the posted to Instagram category because I'm not going to post this until the pattern releases or the day before or the day after or whatever. On there though, I track, and I might change this a little bit in 2024. But I track like the status. So do I have yarn? Is it in progress? Do I need to weave and block? Is it completely done? Those are kind of, or am I stuck? I guess those are the 5 categories. I also do the type like we talked about before. Is it an MCAL? Is it a gift? Is it an MCAL and a gift? That's a category on its own because I only have one field. And is it a test knit? Is it a sample? So just I have these categories for myself just to know. I have the date it started, the date I completed it, what the test deadline is. That's just to keep me on track for things. Then that dates to complete tracker is just, it's on there all the time. I don't really look at it very often, but that's just on there. Then the Instagram status, has it been posted to Instagram? Has it been posted to Ravelry? And the date for Instagram posts. So I also just know I want it to track earlier, like the frequency of my posting. It's not super frequent. I don't really care that much. I still do put it in there. And then again, I map back to my library, and in the library is where I track the category type of thing of garment. Is it a cardigan? Is it a pullover? Is it a tee or tank? Etc. And then I have the direct link to Ravelry page there, and also the designer name and their handle, which just makes it easier. If I'm going to post, I only have to look at this one board. And then I track also my compensation. So if I'm given free patterns, if I'm given money for it, all the things I would need to know, which is why I know that 3 Irish Girls has never paid me. I mark all of that on here. So that's me and my crazy. The pattern library is its whole other thing. Because I do so many tests, and I was doing a lot of garment or accessory tests, and a lot of accessory tests, designers just send you, maybe they just don't want to be bothered with sending it in Ravelry afterwards as like a gift. You just get the finalized pattern in your email, like just in the same chain as that they sent the email originally. I don't like that. That's, not my favorite thing, especially because then I have to like remember where it is. And because I had so many tests where that happened, I decided to start this tracker to know where those final patterns are. Do I really need it for that? Like, probably not, but also it does help me with mapping to what patterns I've got things tagged for. I have like when I acquired the pattern, I have again, the designer's name and handle. This is helpful when I'm organizing certain things, podcast stuff, because I don't have to click into like all of the Ravelry things or go through Instagram and search for stuff. I just have like it here. And then I've got my own personal rating for the pattern. Just a 1 to 5 stars. Okay, the last one is the newest one, and that is my knit. It's called my knitwear tracker for 2024. So every day I put in, and I'm actually categorizing these things because this is kind of annoying. You have to have a name for something for the item inside of Monday. I could just leave it blank and all of them are going to just say item, but instead I'm just auto naming the days where, and then the next number. So it's now on wear 7, and I am marking, I'm interested to see like where I'm wearing things and how frequently for the design. So this is how I've decided to do it. Right now I've decided to do this as a status category, and I may just have to have 2 of these, and that's okay. You can have like up to 20 something statuses being this, they're just like in monday.com. It's just the way that you can have sort of like a drop down select that are color coded and easier to pull into charts. That's the reason for charts, for charts. But I have just fields of like, they just say wear 1 through whatever. The date, the garment, and I'm not tracking socks. I'm not gonna right now track like wraps or shawls because I just tend to throw those on, and like that's not like, generally part of an outfit. Maybe if it's like something that's statement-y for the outfit, I might do that, but like I don't think so. And so I do have 2 categories because I knew I was going to run out of space. I have sweater and then tee or tank. So it will fall into one of those 2. And then the wear place. And this is like loosey-goosey and may change this year. But right now I have the categories out at work, out and about, work, knit night, podcast only. I have yet to think of a scenario where it's going to be different than that. And maybe if it's like just at home, but I don't tend to wear like my sweaters just at home because I have a 1-year-old who does this. do everything as soon as I pick her up. And usually she's got something gross and sticky on her hands because she's a baby, and that's like, the joy of babies. So, the out and about is like anything out of our house in public. I don't have like tagged with who, or it doesn't really matter, just out in life. And then I have work. I am trying to wear my knit things at work during the day, like a lot more frequently. And then, I do, I probably wear knit things like 2-3 times a week, but, I walk the dog in the middle of the day. That's my lunch break. And, I will often like feel a little bit sweaty. So then I put on I put a sweatshirt on to walk her. I'm not walking my knitwear because it's like rainy and gross here, whatever. And I get kind of sweaty because it's like a hilly walk. So then there's like times where I don't so I'm just trying to have this be front of mind, right? So far every day, but yesterday has had a knitwear. So that's pretty good. I mean, we're in week 1 and we have had 6 wears. And one of them today, actually, this is why I also want it to be wear, not day, because this will be wear 7th. And I am going, even though I didn't wear one yesterday, because this is a podcast only. Earlier today, I was wearing my superlative. Here you go. Information for you. And yeah, so that's my spreadsheet land. I love spreadsheets. They are great. Let's talk about the flat lay really fast, because when we did this flat lay, which as I explained, we took all the yarn, we put it out on the floor in category, and it went from like big IKEA bags and like all those reusable shopping bags, which I have so many. So lucky for me because there's so much yarn. And we did, I pulled them off by category and I weighed all of them so they could be in my yarn inventory accurately for the year. All the hand-dyed skeins, all the commercial skeins that I would use for garments. There's probably 1 or 2 things I have acrylic that made it in here that are like things I know I'm going to make for baby this year. And those are the only ones. Everything else is generally wool and nylon, alpaca, cashmere. I don't have that much cashmere in here. Anyway. Animal and plant-based fibers, which are for garments. That's what you see behind me. That is the only things that are now on this wall. I did have some extra things previously on these low ones that you can't see below me. And now I have just refreshed the wall. And here are the final numbers. I have, and this is showing, so what I will show this whole screen too. This is my stats. So my total number of yards in stash is 301,695 yards in this stash behind me. Okay. I will say there's a little bit of yarn that was accounted for in the stash. We are doing a yarn swap, just like our own little knit group next week. And I've already, as I was going through things, there were a couple things I was like, I'm not even put that on the wall. I'm going to throw that right in a bag to take to the yarn swap. And then there is one project I pulled out that is a large volume of yarn that I told you guys I was going to make. And I will actually be casting that on after I cast on Mike's. See, I'm getting these projects planned. They're in order. They're going. Okay. So, then we have the total number of skeins. So I have 1,273.075 skeins. That does not actually mean I have 1,200 skeins. That is my weighed number of skeins. So something like this is Beachy Breeze Fibers, like I think weighed in at 4.4 skeins, even though it is 4 physical skeins, right? Okay, is everyone with me? Because the technical skein is 100 grams, but they were more than 100 grams each. Okay, I have a little chart that will show you skeins by dyer. I think you guys saw that, but it obviously doesn't show everything. But I will tell you my heavy hitters. I have got 13.3%. And this is the number of skeins, right? Not by yard. I wonder what this is by yard. Oh, maybe I'll look at that later. Is Malabrigo. So 13.3%. And that is because I have tons of, and if you saw this on the flat lay, if you looked at all closer to it, I have tons of Malabrigo worsted. I've got a bunch of Malabrigo Rasta. so definitely not, those are not the biggest skeins, you know, like some of my fingering things, if you did by yardage, would just kick those right out. But I do have a lot. And that was things I bought in like 2019, 2020, because I was really on a big Malabrigo kick and I hadn't really had confidence yet to buy from a hand dyer. I've said this before, Malabrigo is a really good mid-level entry point to hand dyed or, you know, small batch dyed skeins. They are more midline priced. So like Rios is, I don't know, 16 bucks, I think, for a pretty skein of Rios. They don't have the same consistency of dye as some of the hand dyed yarns, like variegated skeins, you're going to get, but it's a way to get and play with variegated yarn without dropping 30 bucks plus per skein, or waiting for a pre-order, or, you know, like getting what you want in a color. So I think they were a great entry point. I still will knit with them. I'm not saying like I'm over them. I just like, that's why I have so much, because I was like, I wanted to try the things without, you know, some of the risk. And I bought them from D-Stash, almost all of it, not all of it, but almost all of it. Okay. And then those charts also showed, which I've already, I think, taken them off the screen, but number of yards by type, which I have by far the most yardage of fingering. And I also have the most fingering skeins. Fingering does not take up the most volume, but actually pretty close. It might actually, because I have, so let's talk about my new organization. I'm going to pop a picture of this up too. So cause it's hard for me to get it in frame. But we'll talk through a little bit like what's behind me. I will say, I've already said that my knit group came over for the flat lay. They did tons of manual labor for me for this flat lay. I fed them. We had some very delicious baked French toast, like a French toast casserole. It was very delicious, but just in order to pay them, like, please help me. So I took most of the yarn out before they came, not all of it. I was still categorizing, you know, when they first got here, or weighing when they first got here, but Katie was our master manipulator of the flat lays. And then Charlotte and Sylvan were my color gurus and like helped decide where things went. Honestly, I have rearranged these shelves a lot of times by myself, and I wanted fresh eyes to like give me a different perspective on what to do. And they did that. And I really love how it looks. It's really interesting. Like I keep looking at it behind me because it's really interesting. It's so different from what it was before. I have a picture from a couple of months ago. I'm a dummy. I also didn't just like stop to take a picture of this 3 days ago. I do have a picture that the last time I rearranged the shelves, I have a picture of that. It's probably from a weird side angle, but I'll also pop out, let me get all the way over here so that I can also pop up what the new one looks like again. So you can see that it does look very different. Okay. So, now that you've seen that it looks different, I'll just talk through a little bit of what's behind me. And also I podcast, and I wasn't doing that the last time. Maybe like the last time I did a tiny rearrange, but I didn't know if I would keep doing it. And now, you know, this is a thing I do every week. So I wanted to make sure you could, sorry, I was just checking, baby's still sleeping. I wanted to make sure you could see the good stuff. So all of my fingering weight yarn was above before. I had DK here, I had worsted here, and then I had some like bulky. So it kind of went in order, although lace was like sort of right in the middle. I think these two were both lace before. So we have changed. So now the order is at the very top, a shelf you can't see, but you have seen on the picture. The Nudiden is at the top. I have some bulky fluff at the top. I've got some of my sweater quantity bulkies at the very top, and then also all the fluff is in its own little beautiful cubby to the side, which just allows, it gave it a little more space so I could really see what was going on there. Right here, which is like, you can just see the bottom, this is now my DK. Here and over here. So I do have two, and I think I fit almost all of that into one before that was a little bit taller. So we also rearranged like where the shelves are. I very much find this arrangement to be like slightly more pleasing. I think I was doing like more to space things before, so it was like all over the place, and I like this. Okay. And also like, look how, well, what a good job they do with colors. So this is like a really cool blues and grays palette over here. And then we've got our reds, and you cannot really see it, but it goes over to some yellows and golds and oranges. You can see some of that gold here. There's some dark neutral at the top here too that are like the warmer neutrals, like the browns. That's such a good job. They did like an amazing job. And then we have our our multicolored circus here in the middle. So the things that really don't fit anywhere else, they are too much one or the other. Our maybe exception could be these guys, but I put these in last because they got pictured with the lace. And these are like, they could fit over here, but they're also just like a special yarn. So I like them to kind of be a call out. Oh, so, and which is a slub yarn. So I don't know, they're my only like slub that I have. Anyway, okay, and then down here we have some worsted, and these are like generally just neutrals. These are the most neutral of my Malabrigo worsteds. I've got a sweater quantity of this like browns and golds when I thought I liked autumn colors on me. I do not. In case you're new here, I am a deep winter. So I really gravitate to the things that are right here in the middle. These are the colors I knit with most. I do like a neutral, but I like a cool leaning neutral. I do definitely have some warm neutrals down here, which I don't love to wear, but are great for other people and are also just like, you know, it's things I got many years ago. Okay. And then, so these are my worsteds that are colorful. So kind of just like neutral and colorful. So every row is not exactly the same. And this is also fun. I said, okay, and then, sorry, we have all bins here. I'll go over that in a second. We have all bins here, and then at the bottom we have most of the bulky on this side over here, and most of the super bulky on this side, though there's Rasta that runs sort of the rainbow on both sides. Okay, what I did say, it took me a second to reacquaint myself to, because I really let Sylvan and Charlie go crazy in here. I helped Katie finish up the flat lay photos, and it was just so funny. I said to another of the gals last night that I was like, oh, sort of like letting somebody else rearrange your kitchen. Like, you're so used to that, like, I'm gonna be like looking like, now where did that yarn go? But these are also people who really understand yarn and understand, like, they put sweater quantities together, you know, like, and the color story is actually really interesting, because I had before, which you guys probably only saw like once in video, is I had all of like tonals on one side for fingering and all of variegateds on the other, and I really like this color story better. I think that's really how you visualize things, even though I do want to know if they're variegated, but like, you can see that, like, these are variegated, this is a tonal, like this, you know, you can see from the butt of the yarn. But that is my rearrangement. That was our flat lay. Those are my stats. So this year I am starting with 301,000 plus yards of stash. I would like to be 10,000 net negative, net negative. So that means if I bring anything in, this number goes up. If I knit anything, that number goes down. You get me? I need to knit more than I bring in this year. That's really all it is. I'm not doing a no buy. I'm not doing whatever. 10,000 yards is absolutely something. I knit more than 10,000 yards a year. So I can absolutely bring in some yarn. I just have to be conscious of how much. And this past year, I really upped my hand-dyed yarn number of skeins, and I feel very pleased with that. I also do feel like I need to take a breath and make some of these gorgeous projects before I keep getting excited and buying more yarn and it sitting here and not having made some of those projects. I did post my Make 12 the other week, and I got some people, you know, somebody asked me if I would host any make-alongs for them, and she told me just the other day which things she would like. If you guys want to do any make-alongs from the Make 12, go back, watch that video, give me a comment, let me know if you want to be in for any of those, and I will obviously like update you if I decide to do that. They will be, just like the other one, super casual. They will likely have longer timelines, 6 to 8 weeks. We shall make a sweater together. There's no hard deadlines, whatever, but maybe I'll gift you guys some yarn. I'm in a mission to get some of it out of my stash. You never know. I don't know. But yeah, I think it's just always fun to knit with friends, even if there's no prize at the end, right? Like, I know that a lot of people host make-alongs just to get engagement. They do prizes, but also like, I'm going to just make these things. If you want to make them with me, that sounds so fun. I love to make with friends, both far and near, right? So, yeah. Okay. That's all I have to share for today. we are trucking right along. Here's what I will say for all these stats. If you guys are interested, and anyone wants to know more about the spreadsheet, let me know. Reach out to Ashley, get her base spreadsheet to start with. But I am going to try to share maybe at the end of every month, maybe at the end of every quarter, I'll do it instead. I'm not really sure. We'll at least do a mid-year check-in of how I'm doing on this number. This is probably the goal I most want to hit, more because I have the Make 12. The Make 12 is not my goal. It's just something I put together as I don't have a goal that I must make all the Make 12. I use that more as like the inspiration board to remind me why I bought some of this yarn, like what projects I bought it with it in mind, and like encourage me to make these. Okay. I don't have to make all of them. I can change my mind, whatever. But I'd still like to try. But this number is a goal that I would really like to have, because what I didn't show you, and I'm gonna pop a picture up here right now. There are 6 sweater quantities that are not on this wall. And they are in the house and they are displayed. So that's why I'll put the picture up right now. I have this built-in bookcase in my house and it is very pretty. And right now you can see our Christmas decorations are still up. No, Theo does not have a stocking this year. No, she doesn't know what a stocking is. So I didn't really care. I'm making us different kinds of stockings to be discussed later. But this big bookcase now features 6 sweater quantities, and I want to do a little bit of a fun thing with them, and they're going to stay out there, and they are not the things I need to make first by any means, but they were things that just, yarn is such a big part of my life. This office is a place where nobody comes if they don't it's the squirrely hidey hole of our house kind of. But it's yarn is a big part of my life. I want to have some pretty yarn out in a place where visitors and friends come and see. And I am going to use that to encourage myself to cast on those projects. And I'm going to do something fun with photos as those objects are finished. So that is all I have to say about it. But I am, really excited to make some of these really great projects. And I think that it's a little bit, it already feels like it was exciting to see all the yarn. I definitely got more just like joyful about my yarn library, which I already love my yarn. I stare at it all the time and I'm like, oh, that's pretty. And like, what about these combos and other things? But I think seeing it like out on the ground, really seeing how much I have of certain things too, like, okay, let's get some of that out of the making. Or like, if I'm just not feeling joy from a couple of these things, right? Like I just threw them right now. I was like, boop, that can go away. But yeah, so I am really, jazzed about this upcoming year, and I hope that some of this is encouraging you to get your stash either categorized, tracked. If you find it totally overwhelming, then like you don't have to do it. I think you can live in blissful ignorance of what your yarn actually is, and then you might be pleasantly surprised if you like uncover some yarn you forgot about. I think you can live whatever way you want. I love stats, I like graphs, I like information, and I also like to look at patterns and pick things. Like this is like something I do in my free time. Right? We all have, if you are a knitter, you tend to have like 5 knitting related hobbies. That's like looking at patterns, looking at yarn to buy, matching patterns to yarn, and rearranging your yarn, and knitting. That's 5 really wonderful hobbies. They all take a lot of time. So if you have questions, let me know. I hope you got inspired. I hope you like my flat lay. I probably won't flash it every time I, like color something out, but maybe again, I'll do like a quarterly update of like, here's what my flat lay looks like. Because if I get new yarn and use it, right, you don't get the satisfaction of coloring it in. Does that mean I'm not going to cast on the new yarn? No, obviously that's crazy, but it may make me a little bit conscious that those projects are still sitting there. We'll see. We'll see if it does anything to stimulate the creative juices this year. I'm not committed to doing it forever. It was something that I had never heard of until joining my knit group. And then they were like, you should do it. And I said, if you guys help me, I shall do it. And they did. They showed up in full force. I think everybody was here except for Ariel. And she was busy yesterday. And so we missed her. But we will see her at Knit Night and get her year-end updates. And so yes, that is everything for me. I hope that you had fun watching this episode, and I look forward to talking to everybody next week. Bye.